Hey everyone, and welcome back to my countdown to Halloween. So today is day 19, and I decided today was actually going to be a day that we sort of celebrate maybe a couple of our favorite sequels. It's really easy to love sort of the original version of a film, but you know, these days, let's face it, these days, heck, it's been going on forever. Especially with horror films, we get sequels and we get a lot of them. Now, just because a film gets a sequel or several doesn't mean that they're bad. In fact, a lot of us obviously have a fondness for, I think, a lot of the sequels from a lot of the different series. And I wanted to give a loving acknowledgement of our horror sequels that we do tend to love. So for example, some of the main series, I mean, if you go like, let's just do Nightmare on Elm Street, for example. As I mentioned before, I'd probably go with Nightmare 4, just because, again, I sort of saw it when I was really young. I saw it, I think, just the right moment in my life. And it just sort of has a lot of special meaning for me. Same thing with Halloween. As much as I love the original, I'm not going to count 3 because I sort of think of 3 as its own film. But for example, Halloween 2, as I've also mentioned before, Halloween 2 was actually a very early horror film that I saw. Because when I saw it as a kid, it really kind of stuck with me. In fact, as I mentioned before, I actually saw Halloween 2 before I even saw the original Halloween. And in the case of Friday the 13th, the final chapter, as I mentioned before, is also probably my favorite of the sequels, and a lot of times even kind of tends to be my favorite of all of them, actually. As I mentioned in a previous video, with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the first one is obviously one of my favorite horror films, but I absolutely adore part 2, and I really love part 3. I know sometimes 3 gets a little kind of mixed bag from people, but I absolutely really love 3. I'm not going to include the Dead movies, Romero's Dead movies, because even though, like, I don't think of them as sequels, even though they take place in the same world. Like, I don't think of them as sort of direct sequels, because, I mean, obviously I would say Dawn of the Dead. I mean, I think that's an easy pick for me, as you guys know. But for this case, I'm going to kind of leave them out. But even if you go back to, like, classic horror films, I mean, you have, like, Bride of Frankenstein, which some people would even consider that's even, like, the best one of the Universal monster films. And I was also trying to think of one that I actually almost like more than the original. And actually, that would probably go with Maniac Cop 2. Like, I love Maniac Cop, but Maniac Cop 2, I think, is just amazing. Just really went all out with it and sort of had a little bit more money to kind of throw at the film, and they put it into the film. That's definitely one where I kind of feel like I actually love it even more than the original. And probably one of the more underrated sequels of all time. I do want to give a special shout out to Psycho 2. Will any sequels to Psycho really come anywhere close to the original? No. I mean, it's just not possible. But boy, does Psycho 2 really try. And I think Psycho 2 is actually amazing. It's a much smarter film than I think a lot of people used to give it credit for. I think people appreciate it more now, but I definitely want to kind of give a very special shout out to that one. And Psycho 3. I actually really love Psycho 3. Psycho 3 is almost like the kind of dirtier Psycho film in some way, but in a good way. I could sit here all day and talk about some of my favorite sequels, but I think you guys sort of get the point. So I just wanted to kind of mention just at least a couple of them. So definitely let me know some of your favorite sequels. Also, let me know if you think there are any that are extremely underappreciated. Be back here tomorrow for my next one in my countdown to Halloween. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.